IndyCar is brought to you on Eurosport by Firestone and Valvoline.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the final round of the IndyCar Championship live here on Eurosport. Rob Widow is with you as usual, and tonight we should know who the 1995 IndyCar champion will be. It should be this man, Jacques Villeneuve. Most people agree, I think, that he deserves the championship this year, but there is an outside chance, as you all know, that Al Unser could do it. However, just so you know what's going on, and we're absolutely clear about it, if Jacques Villeneuve finishes in the top 7 tonight, he will be the IndyCar champion despite the outstanding appeal by Penske. Just to let you know also tonight, if you didn't already know, that John Cleland has won the British Touring Car Championship. John Cleland in the Vauxhall was second and third in the 2 races at Alton Park this afternoon. Alain Menu in the Renault, Alain Menu in the Williams run Renault won both the races. So that will have salvaged something at least for the men at Didcot today after a horrible Grand Prix for them. Just to give you some sad news tonight, Keith O'Dore has been hurt at Avis. We know that he has fractures. We believe he has a broken hip. So everybody here at Eurosport, we all send him our very best wishes. Our best wishes to Keith O'Dore tonight. He won the first race, by the way, today at Avis, but had a serious accident in the second one. But on with tonight's action, and we're looking back at
important appeal that's going
some other races that have been at this great Laguna Seca Raceway, and this is Andrew Craig, who's setting up, of course, the new series.
To was to allow this thing to be either rushed or to be done in a slipshod way. What you're going to see here is a proper appeal, conducted properly, and with the right conclusion.
It's a shame that what happened at Portland happened and all that kind of stuff, and had it not happened, then we wouldn't be in the predicament we're in right now. It's gone on this long because CART wants to do what's right and so on. And so, you know, we definitely need the right answers, especially now that it could affect the championships.
That's very frustrating that it's gone on this long. You know, we right now would like to be sort of celebrating. We'd like to come here to Laguna this weekend and just go out and have a good race. You know, not worry about if we hit someone or something. We just race to win.
Well, it's annoying. I think it's stupid anyway that there's an appeal that goes on for 4 months and that it keeps everybody waiting. Not only us, but all the guys that are fighting for second position and so on. And it's a little ridiculous. It's not very professional, but you know, that's the way it is, and we'll have to bring the fight into Laguna.
Well, those are all the people, of course, involved in the appeal. Penske are appealing. That will be heard on the 18th of September, after the end of the season, which some people feel is a little unsatisfactory. And these are the main contenders of the season, of course, and a lot of international drivers. We're looking now at the foreigners, as the Americans call them, and there are more and more of them in the IndyCar series, and it has made for a tremendously exciting year. We began more than 6 months ago, 16 races ago, if you remember, in the streets of Miami, and my goodness, the time really has flown. At least it has for me. I can't believe that we're about to start the last round of the championship. And the Canadians doing well this season. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, stamping his authority on the championship, and Paul Tracy having his usual rather up and down season. He'll be moving to Penske next season. Looking at the Brazilians now, Maurizio Gugelmin, very quick in practice here at Monterey on Friday. But Villeneuve has pole position, by the way, if you don't already know, if you don't have CFAX. Villeneuve has pole position for this evening's race. But quickest in the warm-up this morning, incidentally, was Jimmy Vasser, a man we've been talking about a lot this season. I think a man with huge potential in IndyCars, a man to really watch next year. He was quickest in the warm-up this morning from, guess who? Al Unser Jr. Still looking at the Brazilians, an awful lot of them racing in America now. Christian Fittipaldi has had some good weekends and bad weekends. He's on his way to Newman Haas, Christian Fittipaldi. And Gilles de Ferran, of course, perhaps the Brazilian with the most potential at the moment in IndyCar. He'll stay with Hall next season. That's Raul Boesel, who's not had a good season this year. Andre Ribeiro had a tremendous win on the oval a couple of weeks ago with that Honda engine. Everybody talking about the Honda engine. Jim Hall will have one of those next season for Gilles de Ferran. And it could be a great year for Gilles next year. Superb driver. He hasn't always had a lot of luck this year. He's had a few offs, a few mechanical breakages, but a tremendous race in Vancouver last weekend. He's got second place for Gilles in the Reynard, and while we're on the subject of Reynard, congratulations to them winning the Constructors' title. They've won that already in 1995, and not only does everybody want a Honda engine next year, most people want a Reynard. But Lola will fight back. We know that. Lola will not take this lying down, nor will Penske. So we can expect another tremendous season in IndyCar next year, as if we haven't had enough excitement already in 1995. Adrian Fernandez, we hear he may be on his way to Barry Green's team, Team Green, the Mexican, getting more success this year, but having his fair share of drama, and he was lucky to get away with that one. He was very lucky to be missed by the rest of the field. Not such a good year for the other Mexican, Guerrero. Still very much on a learning curve in IndyCar, Guerrero. But Fernandez could be on his way, especially if he does go to Team Green. What about the Swedes? Well, Stefan Johansson, driving as usual, last year's Penske. He's had some good races, some bad races. He had a good one last weekend in Vancouver. This is Alicio Salazar, the Chilean, yet another South American. Salazar, a successful sports car driver, and not that much luck in IndyCar. Juan Manuel Fangio II had a couple of races. This will be his third race of the year this season. It's said that he may be on his way to Dan Gurney's Eagle team, and they'll be using the Toyota engine next year. That'll be very interesting. What can one say about Matsushita? Well, to be polite, at least he has finished some races this year, Matsushita, but he is always at the back of the field. Let's look at some of the changes for next year. Well, we know that Jacques Villeneuve is going to Didcot, joining Williams Grand Prix Engineering, and that really will be fascinating. He'll start his testing program very soon, I hear, and he'll need every mile of that testing program. He's got to learn some of the circuits. He's got an awful lot to learn about Formula One, but he's a real racer, this guy. Jacques Villeneuve. Tracy going to Penske. And that's how the rookies have done. Christian Fittipaldi, by far the most successful rookie. The rookies being the guys who are in their first season of IndyCar. Gilles de Ferran deserves many more points than that. A great favourite at Reynard, of course. He's done a tremendous amount of development work for them throughout the Formula E, Formula 3, Formula 3000, and now in IndyCar. Living over in America, decided not to go into the back of Formula One, but to get a competitive drive in IndyCar. A lot of talent, Gilles de Ferran, and really he ought to be up there at the top of the rookie points with Christian Fittipaldi. We're in California. You can always tell that. Looking down on Laguna Seca, it's a very familiar sight. Those of you who've been there will know these burnt grassy hills right next to the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful place, Monterey, on Highway 1. It goes down from San Francisco to Los Angeles. A good driver's circuit this. It's uphill, downhill. It has the famous corkscrew, where they come over the brow of the hill and flick right, flick left, and go screaming sharply downhill back towards the start-finish straight. We'll see some tremendous racing here. There's nothing to lose for a lot of these guys. It's the end of the season. It's contract time. There aren't going to be a lot of changes in the championship. And I think this race will be run very hard and very fast. It often is at Monterey. And let's hope we get a good, clean race without too many yellow flags, and let's hope we don't have a restart as we did last weekend. 84 laps of Laguna Seca. And to remind you what happened this morning, it was Jimmy Vasser quickest in the warm-up from Al Unser. Then it was Maurizio Gugelmin. He's been running very well this weekend. And then it was Carlos Guerrero. Quite a surprise that in the warm-up. Sponsor seeking, contract time, maybe, who knows. Teo Fabi, very quick on Friday, not so quick yesterday. The pace car brings them round now on what should be the last of the parade laps. Then we'll be going over live to Laguna Seca with our commentator Paul Page, as usual. And Shakespeare's list, as I call it, to be or not to be. Well, they say he needs to finish 8th. I think it is 7th, actually, because he got an extra point for pole position. Those are the ifs and buts, but ifs and buts in motor racing really are of no use to anybody. We just need to sit back, watch this final round of the series, and see for ourselves what transpires. Gilles de Ferran was 7th quickest in the warm-up this morning, by the way, so it could be a good race for him. And that's a great shot of the circuit. You can see there's 11 corners at Laguna Seca as Jacques Villeneuve leads the field round, just taking it nice and easy behind the pace car. And that's Brian Herter right behind him. A tremendous showing from Brian Herter in qualifying yesterday. He and Jimmy Vasser really have been very good to watch this season. 11 corners, I was saying, up and down, and a real driver's circuit. There'll be a huge crowd here. There always is at the end of the season. And watch out for the guys on the Firestone tyres, and watch out for those Honda engines. It could be anybody's race. I think the favourite has to be Jacques Villeneuve. Warming up the tyres. It's a beautiful day in California. There's the grid. Villeneuve and Herter on the front row. And yet another new track record for Villeneuve in that Reynard. Team Green really have got a beautiful setup on that car. He's taken many, many track records this season. Every time he's had a pole, he's had a track record with it. Then it's Gilles de Ferran and Theo Fabi on the next row of the grid. A tremendous performance from both of those, the highly experienced Theo and newcomer Gilles. Then it's Scott Pruitt running on the Firestone tyres. Maurizio Gugelmin really on form for this, the last race of the year. Gugelmin, a bit of a patchy season. Lovely guy and a great driver, but not a lot of luck this year. Then Jimmy Vasser, a real coming man in IndyCar with the unpredictable but extremely aggressive Paul Tracy alongside him. That row will be worth watching at the start. Parker Johnstone and Andre Ribeiro. Honda power there, a lot of Honda power, and maybe too much Honda power for some people next year. Anyway, we will go over now live to Paul Page and Derek Daly to talk us through the beginning of the race at Laguna Seca. We're not quite ready to go over to Paul Page and Derek Daly at Laguna Seca just yet as we watch the grid continuing down towards the back. Frederick Ekblom, that's the first time out for him this season. Mimo Schiattarella, who had a flirtation with Formula One. I bet he was watching the Italian Grand Prix today with some interest. Well, won't we all? What a fantastic race. Another lap now behind the pace car. We expect them coming in for fuel lap 24 onwards. And so often these races can be decided in pit lane, particularly if you drive for Penske, Newman Haas or Team Green. They really have had some wonderful pit work, those three teams this year, and the drivers will be very grateful for that. Picking up places in the pits is very gratifying. Look at that, Reynard, a tremendous result for them this season. Championship constructors. And will their man Jacques Villeneuve be the champion driver by the end of tonight? I think he probably will, but we just don't know. There you can see some of the good passing places at Laguna Seca, but they'll be trying to pass everywhere tonight. There's a lot of reputations to be made and to be salvaged at this stage of the season. It's a tremendously long winter break, and this is really the last time to show off to potential teams and sponsors. Mike Andretti, a bit of a patchy season from him, as we've come to expect actually, but safely at Newman Haas, where he knows the team well, they know him well. You never know quite what to expect from Mike Andretti. He could win it, he could fall off, you just don't know. But he's got a lot of experience here, and he'll be right up there. Paul Tracy will be right up there too, a real fighter in a racing car, Paul Tracy. And he's on his way to Penske next season. This is Bobby Rahal's car, the camera on Bobby Rahal's car. A man very disappointed not to be running for the championship with Jacques Villeneuve this season. They had that coming together 3 or 4 races ago, a rather controversial coming together, and Bobby Rahal picking up points as usual almost every weekend. Very disappointed not to be in with a shot at the championship. So at the end of this lap they should be taking the green flag for the start of this 84 lap race. Watch out for the first fuel stops between about lap 24 and about lap 29. Jacques Villeneuve has had 6 pole positions this year. In fact, he's had 6 pole positions. That's the corkscrew. Watch out, that's a tremendous corner. Great viewing there, not only when you're there, but also on television. You've got to get that one absolutely right, or you are off into the countryside. But Villeneuve, 6 poles in the last 9 races, and they've all been track records. And it's the 3rd time on the front row for Brian Herter. This should be a good start.
pit state. So they're going to try to assemble as best they can before the corner. And of course, the starter will be watching them so very carefully. Jacques Villeneuve takes them off the corner. The revs come up. And here we go. The final race of the season is underway. Villeneuve takes him down into the first corner. De Ferran tucks in very close. Herta works to the outside, as does Fabi. Down through the first corner, it's still Villeneuve. Fabi tries to make a move to the inside. Villeneuve runs all the way to the edge of the course. One car spinning at the back of the field. Not a factor. Gets off safely. Should be able to get back on.
That might have been one of the best starts we've seen. It's Robbie Gordon to continue his disastrous weekend here. Started all the way back in 16th, and look at the build-up on that rear tire. So soft that rubber just sucks up the stones and the gravel offline.
Apparently nudged there, reporting by Adrian Fernandez. Now to the top of the hill as Villeneuve begins to pull out a bit of an advantage over second place. Brian Herta, and in third place as we're going yellow. They're going to go to a full course yellow. And part of their concern has been throughout the weekend when a car gets off in some of those critical areas, they'll spray so much rock and sand on the track that it's dangerous for everyone behind. So now the front of the field slows down at the end of the first lap.
And I began to mention that was one of the best starts we have seen on a road course, because they were 2 by 2, absolutely in tandem in a perfect drag race all the way down. So Brian Herta began to challenge Jacques Villeneuve. We can have a look at it in replay as Robbie Gordon makes his way back on slowly. He gets tapped by Fernandez. That's Fernandez off the road.
No, everything's okay. If you need some tires, check those tires out.
Derek Walker talking with his driver, Robbie Gordon. Another look at this situation that brought out a full course yellow.
Tries to go outside Fernandez. Oh, he gets in trouble. And there's the impact. 2 cars trying to go on the one small piece of ground, and an early time to make an exit, even if you have a badly difficult handling car as Robbie Gordon has had here all weekend.
So Robbie Gordon gets it around and gets it back on the track. We're full course yellow at the conclusion of the first lap. We'll be back.
So we're already running under yellow flags. What a disappointment. But there's the Eau de Villeneuve from Brian Herta and Gilles de Ferran in a very useful third position. The yellow flags are out because Robbie Gordon went off on lap 1. He tried to overtake not only Fernandez but also Bozell on the outside of that left-hander. I don't think that was ever going to come off. He was on the dirty stuff. He got it sideways, and then Fernandez tapped him, and it was all over for Robbie Gordon. But he can, now they're running under yellows, of course, he can make up that time. But that's the kind of thing that Robbie Gordon sometimes does. We're running now with Robbie Gordon. We have radio contact, by the way, with the Walker team. We'll be able to hear what Robbie Gordon says to Derek Walker, and Derek Walker back to Robbie Gordon in the car, and it does make the coverage so much more interesting.
You should be okay. I'll let you know.
As I say that, I'm talking over the radio communication between them. They're talking about the tyres because Robbie Gordon got a lot of muck and dust and dirt on those tyres after that spin. He kept the engine running there, and he's back now at the back of the field. So he's got an awful lot of work to do, but it's been typical really of his season so far. So green flag. And Villeneuve leads from Brian Herta and Gilles de Ferran.
Just come back to green flag racing at Laguna Seca. Very quick cleanup. Got the debris off the course. Robbie Gordon got back in line, and his tires and equipment all fine. So now we focus on Brian Herta. The look back to third place, Gilles de Ferran. Teo Fabi is just behind him, and then Mauricio Gugelmin just ahead. Leading the race is Jacques Villeneuve. That's, of course, the position that he needs if he intends to take home the IndyCar Championship as the youngest ever to take it, and the first from Canada.
And every one of these drivers knows how they must protect the 4 black boots that contact themselves to the road, because that has been the topical point here, particularly after the warm-up this morning. And the 2 leading cars are the 2 of the best handling cars throughout the morning warm-up this morning. Now moving back to Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy and Scott Pruitt, 6th and 7th. Let's go on board with Paul Tracy. Back, Jill DeFerrin got around Brian Herta for second place. Now Fabi moves on Herta. Fabi comes to the inside. Apparently something wrong there with Herta's car. We'll keep an eye on board here. Boy, look at the brakes lock up on DeFerrin just ahead.
Brian Herta is in trouble here because 3 places he's lost in less than 2 corners. Jan Beekes, you're down there?
Yes, Derek, when he came by the front straightaway, you could hear that he had a bad misfire with that forward power plant. So it's either electrical. This early in the race, it wouldn't be a broken header, so it must be electrical problems for Brian Herta.
We'll keep an eye on Brian Herta. Too bad that he didn't recognize that during that yellow. He might have been able to pop in and out with a quick change of electronics. Back on board Paul Tracy, just ahead, 6th place Scott Pruitt.
Just ahead of him is Brian Herta. He is a lame duck. He just went by our commentary booth here, and the engine sounds terrible. In fact, Jan, it does sound like a broken header, very similar to the problem I think Jimmy Vasser had last weekend. There he goes, another pass. He's going to have to make a pit stop. He's got no choice.
Gary Terrell, do you have a further update on Brian?
Just got a quick word with Chip Ganassi, and yes, it relates to the motor. They don't know if it's electronic specifically, not a header. They are going to bring him in. The crew is over the wall awaiting him now. Oh, such disappointment. This team has had so many of these days where they've just been dogged by tough luck, Paul.
Well, he's on the way to you now. Just turned onto the pit road, Gary. There's Brian Herta. Come off. They'll, of course, reach for the electronics. It's assuming that they don't see anything when they pull the engine calling. We can listen for the radio, too. Parker Johnstone, quick off, down in the second turn. The hairpin at the end of the long pit straight.
Had terrible trouble this morning in the morning warm-up. Went to the line thinking he's going to have a lot of trouble with boost, and he's obviously stalled the engine here, so this may bring out a yellow flag. I don't know what benefit it will be to Brian Herta, because that engine problem sounded way too difficult to deal with in just a couple of seconds here. But Brian Herta didn't get his nickname High Speed Herta for nothing. It was a winner here in the Indy Lights Series.
And they're going to get Parker Johnstone underway without having to go to a full course yellow, so that'll keep the track full green condition. IndyCar safety team does a spectacular job. We talk about all the marvelous volunteers as well, both from the marshals, the flag marshals, and folks from the SCCA, the San Francisco region up here, and the IndyCar volunteers, as there's a large group of those as well. Takes literally thousands to put an IndyCar race on, and you really have to thank them for the marvelous job they've done this year.
And they even work on announcers, as I know, because of what happened to me yesterday morning. So it's thanks to the people down there who put me back in shape. Believe it or not, I ended up on a stretcher yesterday morning, and the people down at the medical center and the Tony Lama Human Performance Center with Don Andrews got the nerve trapped out of the way, and I was back in business.
Al Unser Jr. moving on Jimmy Vasser. Derek Daly apparently spent too much time in an Irish pub in the area. Well, never mind. Jan Beekes.
We had a chance to check in Parker Johnstone's pit as he goes by the front straightaway with Doug Peterson. Asked him what happened. He said simply, he just lost it. Spun on his own. Paul?
All right, we continue to watch the move of Al Unser Jr. He is the kind of driver that does move forward very quickly, and that's absolutely the formula he needs today. Started 14th, now running 10th, up 4 positions. What he needs is first place. Michael Andretti working on Ribeiro. There's Little Al lining up behind Rahal.
During our qualifying show yesterday, we asked Al Jr. what he lacked, and he simply said speed in qualifying. But now we're in a racing mode, which is totally different. And this Penske chassis, as Jan Beekes alluded to earlier, seems to have tire management down a little bit better than some of the other teams. And Al Jr. has enjoyed that type of race consistency. And of course, he's used it to his benefit to win so many races this year. And now he may be a championship contender, but he's going to need a lot of help, maybe from yellow flags.
Al Unser Jr. his best finish, of course, his wins at Long Beach, Mid-Ohio, and last week at Vancouver. Tied for the most wins among active drivers with Michael, and if he wins today, he'll tie with Jack for the most wins of the season. That could figure into the way the championship is determined, because that's one of the tiebreakers.
And the team will tell you that They were mentally derailed after that disqualification at Portland, but Alonso Jr. has pulled it all back together to become a contender, whereas this man, really his season fell apart, Paul.
8th place, Michael Andretti, has not been able to convert most laps led and poles into wins this year. He chases Andre Ribeiro right now.
Started 12th. Bad when you start back at the pack. Listen to the throttle. Has suffered oversteer all weekend here. Back end sliding way too much. This is turn 5, 80 miles an hour at the apex. Right there, watch the climb uphill. Gets faster. 115 miles an hour before he gets on the brake. And now it goes even further uphill. 7 stories high. There's a braking zone up here, but he's not close enough. Famous corkscrew roller coaster plunge downhill, trying to catch Ribeiro.
Next passing zone is not this corner, but the one after it.
It's down to the hairpin, slowest corner. Can he get down the inside? Too far behind. Second gear, start it all over again.
So Michael Andretti continues to work on Andre Ribeiro, though he has moved up 4 positions himself since the start of this race and currently runs in 8th place. The race is still led by Jacques Villeneuve. He stays there. He has a championship.
Eurosport Live.
Somebody's got to do some work to get these engines straightened out.
Just 7 laps gone at Laguna Seca, and Jacques Villeneuve leads from Gilles de Ferran, but we're running under yellow flags yet again.
From a
This
frustrated
time,
owner
the
to a very
Italian
calculated one.
Alessandro
Behind me,
Zampedri
Roger
has spun
Penske
in
has
the
been talking to
left-hander
Alonso
before
Jr.
the
and he's
start
trying
finished
to get him
straight.
to be
And he appears to be
cautious.
stranded
Take
there
your
for the time
time,
being, so
telling
the
him where
yellow
he wants
flags
him to
are
be
out.
on
The
the
field is
mule.
bunching
They
up
think
yet
they're
again. Gilles de
A-okay
Ferran
here, and of
very
course, just
briefly
like
took the
Derek
lead.
said, this
It
full
was
course
difficult to
yellow
see
will
exactly
really
what
help.
happened while you were away. Gilles
Alan Sir
briefly took
Jr.
the lead. I think
Roger
Villeneuve
Penske,
either
too.
missed a gear or missed his braking point, but he's back in the lead now as they all trail the pace car around. And it looks as though Zampedri, no, that's Fernandez car. Adrian Fernandez car is going to need a new nose cone. We did not see why that was, as we look back at earlier in the season, the Jimmy Vasser that was. Anyway, Joe Montana taking a lap of honor around the Monterey course. Not quite sure why we're looking at Joe Montana. Anyway, this is what we're really interested in, which is a bit of a Reynard benefit right now with Jacques Villeneuve leading, and you can see by how much. Well, they're behind the pace car, so they're all bunched up, but it wasn't a lot more than that before the yellows came out. In 3rd position, it's Teo Fabi, a tremendous weekend for Teo. Then Maurizio Gugelmin in 4th, Scott Pruitt is 5th, Paul Tracy is 6th, and Al Unser is 10th. So things not looking good for Al Unser at the moment for the championship. There's Robbie Gordon, who went off on the very first lap. Brian Herter, by the way, has been into the pits with the ECU problem on the engine. Yet another engine problem for the Chip Ganassi team. They really haven't had more than their fair share of engine problems. There's Adrian Fernandez, as we said, coming in for a new nose cone. I'm not able to tell you why that is. He either ran into the back of somebody or went off the circuit briefly. But they're doing this job quite sensibly and quite obviously under the yellow flag period. Outside the top 6, well, Andre Ribeiro is 7th, Michael Andretti is 8th, Bobby Rahal is 9th, and then rounding out the top 10, as I said, is Unser Jr. And at the moment, the championship hopes for him don't look good at all, because Villeneuve is leading and he's only got to finish in the top 7 tonight. Tyre wear is going to be a problem here. We can expect the first stops at about lap 24. Anyway, for more news from the circuit, let's go back to Paul Page and Derek Daly.
So we are still under full course yellow. The Ducati team, the Gallus Racing, they're working on Adrian Fernandez front nose. He got himself in trouble here. We'll take a look at what caused this situation. It was up in the corkscrew. Whoa, he just missed it.
And that was a classic case of understeer. You saw his wheels. Watch the front wheels. Turned, plow straight on. When you push like that, that's what you hear the drivers term as push or understeer. He's lucky he didn't collect that tire wall and do a lot more damage.
All right, so here is the running order after 9 of the 84 laps, with the significant change being the Brian Herta removal from second position, and the Farron now had, in fact, before the yellow, been closing right up on the back of Jack Villeneuve. There is the entire order for you, and of course you can see by this too that Robbie Gordon continues to function all right after that off course early on. Another situation involving Adrian Fernandez. Here we are, green once again.
And to make this scenario very interesting, Gilles de Ferran on lap 7 set the fastest lap of the race. So right now he has the fastest car out there. He may be a challenger to Villeneuve. But remember what Ganassi said earlier on, or what Brian Herta said. Villeneuve cannot take the type of chances that other drivers can.
Gary, what do you think? Is Villeneuve in trouble?
Well, we just checked with Barry Green, and they're a little bit concerned. Not a major problem, but the car has gone loose. He's got the oversteer situation, and so he's got a bit of a handful. And he said it's nothing, though, that we think we can't live with. They'll try to make an adjustment on his scheduled pit stop, probably sometime after lap 24, between 24 and 29.
Up to the top of the corkscrew, Jan Vikas.
Paul, when you had that great example that Derek described, the understeer that Adrian Fernandez had, and now we're hearing about oversteer, it turns out that almost all of the crews, the majority of those, are calling in on their radio communication saying the cars are getting loose. So watch for that here in the early stages of what we might call phase 2 here before the first round of pit stops. Paul?
All right, watching Jack Villeneuve. Now de Ferran not making that much headway on him.
Jan, unfortunately, you couldn't see the pictures, but that was not normal understeer that we saw with Fernandez. That was totally out of control understeer that was exaggerated when he went off onto the gravel trap.
Now de Ferran is able to close just a bit. As we watch this battle, Derek Daly, the comments by Chip Ganassi criticizing his engine program.
Well, that was interesting to me because we have to remember the Newman-Haas team with Michael Andretti and Tracy and the Ganassi team enjoy the Ford factory backing. So they should have all the resources they need to have the best of Ford engines. So that may just G Ford up a little bit to make sure those boys don't have those type of troubles in the future.
Tightest battle on the race course. Andretti, Rahal, Unser Jr., 8th, 9th, and 10th. You ride with Rahal. Remember that little Al, trying to pass Rahal at Toronto, got in trouble and crashed down in the first turn.
Downhill run. 115 miles an hour. That corner's all going to be different next year. This will not be the racetrack. They're going to redesign this facility, spending a lot of money to update this great racetrack here at Laguna Seca. Lengthen the pits. Pit boxes will be longer. They can start more cars. Oh,
look at the braking.
Runs through the tire smoke here.
Al Unser Jr. sitting right on the back end. As a matter of fact, the folks here at Laguna Seca are going to make well over $1 million in improvements to this track. And especially part of the moving of that final turn is going to lengthen the pit lane. And that will allow them to start more cars, because that's actually what limits the number of cars you can start here, is how long your pit lane is. You don't want to jam them in. Remember, we've had some problems here in the past. Remember Johansson's situation a year ago?
Great pictures here of this uphill run.
And there's the corkscrew. Woohoo!
And television pictures do not even do it justice. It is literally a plunge over the side and a straight sheer drop down. And in the early laps, when you come here for the very first time, it is by far and away the most dramatic series of corners any driver has ever faced.
Al Unser Jr. continues to chase Rahal in 10th place, Jan Vikas.
Yes, and we've been listening to what Roger Penske has been coaching him along the way, and interestingly enough, they just told him to lean down the engine. They were at 94%, now they're down to 92%. It'll be interesting to see if that shows on the track. Of course, that will take horsepower away from the machine, but it'll save fuel. So they're saving fuel. Obviously, it has to do with their pit strategy. I wonder if he'll still close in on that battle, Paul.
84 laps of scheduled distance, 14 laps complete. We've had 2 yellow flags, full course yellows, during that period of time. Al Unser Jr. continues to work on Rahal.
And of course, when you lean the fuel down, sometimes the decision is made because he's stuck behind Rahal. So if he's not able to go as fast as his car can run, if he is going to be behind Rahal, why not turn the fuel mixture down, put less fuel into the engine? You don't need the extra horsepower because you're stuck behind somebody. You can save the fuel for later. When you're clear on the racetrack by yourself, dump the fuel in, make more horsepower, and go faster.
And leaning the engine down now is not mechanical like it used to be, where you could really turn it too far. It's all chip control.
All electronic, and the telemetry in the pit lane can tell the mechanics and the engineers from Mercedes-Benz if he's done it correctly or not. If not, they radio back to him, or in fact in Penske's case, they have actually a little message board, digital message board on the steering wheels, should the radio system not work properly. You can see here, Paul, he's clearly faster than Rahal, but he can't find a way around. Rahal is using a slightly defensive line, as he is entitled to do. This is a fight for position, not anything else.
We're also seeing a bit of buildup off the edge of the line as these soft tires start to shed the rubber. And that, of course, makes it a little more precarious for little Al to make one of those daring moves when he will dive inside a corner. Not quite as safe here.
You can see all that sand off line. Regularly you'll see when the cars run right to the edge, it actually sucks some of the dust and sand onto the racetrack. But the car following has to run over it. That is why sometimes you get this mishandling imbalance on these racing cars, which makes this track, as Jimmy Vasser told me this morning, the most difficult track IndyCars race on to get consistency.
So the fight continues back here with Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. for 9th, while Jack continues to be the leader of the race, raced by DeFerrin.
Sport Live.
Just 16 laps gone here at Laguna Seca, and the top 6 are extremely close. You can see for yourselves how close it is. Jacques Villeneuve is doing a perfect job. He's leading the race, but it's not perfect enough. At least I'm sure he wouldn't think so. He's only just ahead of Gilles de Ferran, and right behind them is Teo Fabi. Then it's Maurizio Gugelmin, Scott Pruitt, and Paul Tracy in 6th position. Still in 10th place is Al Unser in a train of cars. Unser is a lot quicker than the cars ahead of him, but he just cannot get by. Right in front of him is Bobby Rahal, and Rahal, more than anybody else, knows how to defend a position. We're looking at the top 3 though: Villeneuve, de Ferran, and Fabi. And boy, how much Gilles de Ferran would love to win this race at the end of the season. He feels he deserves more success than he's had this year. 2nd in Vancouver last weekend, in the spare car that was too, and now he really is giving Jacques Villeneuve a hard time. A lot of people watching this at home tonight will want Villeneuve to win, particularly the Williams people. They'll want to have the IndyCar champion secure at the end of this race in 1st place and coming over for his test program. They won both the touring car races at Alton Park today, by the way, just to cheer themselves up a little bit, and they would love it if Villeneuve won tonight. But we're going back live to the circuit with Paul Page and Derek Daly.
Paul thought he drove the wheels off this thing. Mind you, I suppose he'd say that anyway, no matter how good or bad he was. But interestingly enough, he starts his test program, and extensive it is, with the Penske team in 2 weeks' time. Tells me before the end of October and November, he will have more test time than he has had all this season. So Tracy will be a busy boy towards the end of this season.
If you try and identify some of the problems at Penske Racing this year, is the fact that Paul Tracy was not there to test part of it?
It's hard to tell. I mean, Tracy is known and recognized as a very good test driver. He is also an extremely fast talent, which tends to push your teammates. You know, racing has a habit of going in cycles. One team will not dominate on a regular basis, and we know, and you know, Paul, from past history, Roger Penske's teams go in that cycle also, and they will be back, and Tracy hopes they'll be back with him at the top, because he would like to win the IndyCar Championship.
There comes Bobby Rahal with Al Unser Jr. still stuck right to the back end of his car, and then Jimmy Vasser runs in 11. Al Unser Jr. in fuel conserve mode now, apparently, as he stays lined up behind Rahal because he doesn't have enough of an edge to go ahead and force his way past. So there's no sense in trying lap after lap and wasting the fuel. You'll get some fresh tires here very shortly.
And there's that defensive line, Paul, we saw under braking by Rahal. You just move the car offline, maybe one car width, and that means the driver that's maybe thinking of making an attempt down the inside suddenly says, no, there is not enough room to do it. I saw a great quote by Rahal after Friday. He says, I'm happy to be the fastest ball driver here. But then he realized, no, Fabi has that honor.
Well, I was talking to him about that, and he said, here's Al Unser Jr. as he tries to move to the inside. No, he just lets him know he's there. Little warning for the top of the hill, don't you think?
Oh, you tempt me and I'll poke my nose down is what Al Jr. says. He is so good in the braking zones. The Penske car is very stable under braking. Perhaps he sees a weak spot now with Rahal, and he may pounce. We're on lap 20. Pit stops will be coming up shortly.
Yeah, but you just see that line that Rahal used kind of moved over about a full lane on his approach into the top of the corkscrew. Here's another decisive point. And no, Al Unser Jr. doesn't have an opportunity to do it. Four-time winner here, 4 years in a row. Starting in 1984, Bobby Rahal. I asked him about that quote, you know, the fastest bald guy here, and he said, well, I didn't really say that. I said I was the fastest Lola, the fastest Mercedes. And then somebody on the crew said, and the fastest bald guy, oh, no, Teo's faster than you are.
Well, he's the second fastest bald guy at the moment because Teo Fabi is running third and Rahal is ninth.
And by the way, least we be politically incorrect. At least one of us in the booth has that description, and another one is well on the way.
Yeah, lightweight.
Christian Fittipaldi hit the pits. He was 17th at the start, moved up to 12th, and then made a premature pit stop just a few laps ago.
You know, I don't believe Al Jr. thinks he has the room, but he thinks he's about to force the issue here. But you can see Rahal, he didn't win those 4 races in a row for no good reason. He understands every line around here. That piece of debris, you saw that still on the racetrack. It's offline though, therefore we don't need to go pick it up. But look at Junior, he's fast off the corners. That gives him the run to the braking zones to maybe attempt a run down the inside.
And they are closing on Michael Andretti. They're running a bit faster than Michael and closing in on him. Of course, a battle always slows you down a little bit. Use those offline approaches to try and protect position.
See again the tight line by Junior, under power. It lines him up for the braking zone. Can't make it, but he's quick off the exit. Oh, he's loose.
You said that this is an area of the course that it's very difficult to balance the car in.
Yes, indeed, and this is also the area where a lot of the cars drag sand and dirt onto the racing line. But this is what Junior likes. The run up the hill and have a little look down the inside, but he's too far behind. Vasser still hanging on behind him in 11th place.
Climbing to the top of the hill now, up the top of the corkscrew. Al Unser Jr. looks to the inside, but is way too far back to make a move there. So Al Unser Jr. continues to work at Bobby Rahal. He can make the move just about any time. 21 laps of the 84-lap scheduled distance are complete, and Jacques Villeneuve, the pole setter, has led from the start.
21 laps gone at Laguna Seca, and this is one of the stories of the race. Bobby Rahal is holding up Al Unser Jr. Al Jr. must be very, very frustrated by this. He's quicker than Rahal. He's quicker than Michael Andretti ahead of Rahal, but he cannot find a way by. Now, Bobby Rahal has won a lot of races at Laguna Seca. He knows every single inch of this track. And just watch Rahal defend his position here. Keep your eyes on Rahal rather than Unser. Every time Al Jr. looks as though he's going to pull a move on Rahal, Rahal has the answer about a split, just a thousandth of a second before Al Unser. Now, where was Christian Fittipaldi? He's way down the field. He's been into the pits, an unscheduled stop that. I'm not exactly sure what they did in that pit stop. They may have altered the front wing angle, because a lot of guys out here have been complaining in these early laps about oversteer. They talk about the car being loose, they mean oversteer by that, and when they say push, they mean understeer, for those of you who, and that's brake locking, that's smoke. But Christian Fittipaldi having a rather low-key race today, but not as low-key as his uncle Emerson, who is even further down the field. But Villeneuve still leads. 22 laps gone now. Villeneuve leads, but only just from Gilles de Ferran, and Theo Fabi tucked in behind them in third position as Al Jr. brings Penske into the pits. And this is the beginning of the fuel window. It's pretty early for fuel. We thought it'd be lap 24 onwards, but off come the wheels, on go the new tires, in goes the fuel, and look at this Penske pit work. They're usually absolutely slick with this, and they need to be if Al Jr. is going to pick up some places in these early stops. There was no way he could get by Bobby Rahal. He decided to come into the pits instead. A good decision by the Penske team. And he's in and out in a very, very quick time indeed. So it'll be interesting to see what that has done to Unser Jr.'s race, but we go back live now to Paul Page.
Just stop. That breaks off the battle with Bobby Rahal. He is therefore the first of the regulars to come in just as the fuel window opens on lap 24. Jacques Villeneuve is still the leader, being chased by de Ferran, then Theo Fabi, Mauricio Gugelmin, and Scott Pruitt. Interesting strategy here by Roger Penske.
Yes, and that was a good example of a typical Penske move. Realizes losing too much time behind Rahal, couldn't make the pass, get him into the pit lane, then get him out and run by himself. Look at de Ferran under braking, gets it sideways, locking up those rears. And Mauricio Gugelmin, I think, having a stellar day, considering he had a huge crash when he had a component failure yesterday, missed the last qualifying session. This car here was his spare car. They rebuilt it around all the good bits left from the crash car. He is having a good day running forward.
That must have been tough on him, sitting through that final qualifying session, knowing he had no car available and wondering how bad he was going to suffer in qualifying position. Fortunately, he didn't drop all that much. The time that he set on Friday was a sufficient time, and he started in the third row. Has yet to win in an IndyCar race, but I'll tell you what, his team Pac West, with Mauricio Big Mo, they call him at the wheel, has had a fine season in terms of DNFs. They've really been tracking very cleanly.
You may be curious to know what Hollywood is. It's got nothing to do with Hollywood. In fact, it's a brand of cigarettes that is very popular in South America.
There's really turn one. It's an extension of the pit straight. To a slower car, it's barely there. To an Indy car, it's pretty tough. Then down to a hairpin. Here's Michael Andretti as he makes his first stop of the day. Comes in from 8th position. He was able to move up 4 spots on the start, but then got stuck behind Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. and has not been able to move up since then. Let's go to Gary.
Big change on the handling characteristics. 2 full turns that appeared on both sides of the front wing. And Michael, of course, now long gone. He's hoping that he can improve on the handling characteristics. He was loose like so many others.
So everybody fighting exactly the situation that you suggested at starting was going to be the problem here.
Yes, indeed. And loose condition, even without the tire unusual characteristic that we have this weekend. This Laguna Seca racetrack has a history of making Indy cars go loose, but we saw that mechanic wind the screw out on that front wing. That is taking downforce off these cars, off the front wings.
First, second, third on the pit straight, climbing the hill. Oh, what a great view this is. There's that first turn. This is turn 2 in the pit access road.
What a great qualifying battle this was, Paul. Remember yesterday's qualifying? Spectacular.
Back and forth to Ferran, Herta, Fabi, finally Villeneuve. And most of that in the last 60 seconds.
And now you see Villeneuve has track position. Look how quick Fabi is up behind Gilles de Ferran. De Ferran was slowed through there. Fabi, this is outside our commentary box. That's where they drift up close to the sand. And here's the uphill run, the first of the uphill runs. 100 miles an hour, the apex there. Villeneuve has breathing room in these medium speed corners. This is 5-6 in the uphill run to the carousel.
Bobby Rahal hit the pits for his first stop of the day. Gary?
Routine all the way and nicely done. 12.6 seconds for a fresh set of good years and a full complement of fuel.
So Rahal in and out, stop number 1. Al Unser Jr. has been there. Jimmy Vasser has been into the pits, as has Michael Andretti.
And the times are dropping off. Villeneuve is now 7 seconds off his qualifying time, and the people behind him are obviously suffering just as much. They are also running slow.
Well, they're now reporting that Jacques Villeneuve should be in the pits any time now. We'll hang here and see exactly what he plans on doing. Originally, they were talking about making it all the way to lap 30, but the report now is, let's come in next time, which would be at the end of lap 28.
And you can see de Ferran is loose. When he exits these corners, he's got a handful of steering, trying to steer this car to keep it straight. But I can only presume that Fabi has a similar handling characteristic, and Villeneuve, who's not
leading the race, leading the championship, and if he stays where he is, he will be the champion. Al Unser Jr. came into the pits early because he was stuck behind Bobby Rahal and Michael Andretti. A good decision by Penske. It'll be some laps yet before we know how much that early pit stop will benefit Al Jr. But look how close this top 3 is, and they're going to have to come into the pits at any moment for tyres and fuel. Villeneuve's lap times are dropping. He's now 7 seconds off his qualifying pace, and Laguna Seca on a hot day like this is going to be hard on tyres. And into the pits he comes as we speak. Jacques Villeneuve is in, Team Green are ready, and we've seen some tremendous pit work from him. It didn't look as though either de Ferran or Fabi came in. So now Gilles de Ferran leads the race while Jacques Villeneuve has tyres and fuel in the pits. A slight adjustment to the front wing. Quite a long stop this one, out in 14 seconds. And that should be okay for Villeneuve. He's got to finish in the top 7. Obviously, he wants to win the race, but I would have thought that was about the right time for the tyre and fuel stop. Team Green obviously thought so, and they certainly know what they're doing. With his lap times coming down like that, he needed to make a stop, but interestingly, de Ferran and Fabi continued. Now, Al Jr. inside the top 10, and there is Gilles de Ferran leading the Grand Prix, as they call it, the Grand Prix of Monterey at Laguna Seca here this evening. Right behind him, Teo Fabi, then it's Maurizio Gugelmin. Maurizio having a tremendous race here today. Then it's Scott Pruitt, and then it's Paul Tracy, and Paul Tracy, the leading Newman-Haas Lola today. Michael Andretti strangely off form in California for the last race of the season. Tracy upholding, or at least trying to uphold Newman-Haas honours in 6th position as Gilles de Ferran brings in the Reynard Mercedes, and so does Teo Fabi bring in the Reynard Ford. Now this is an absolutely critical stop for both these guys. Who will be out of the pits first? De Ferran in Jim Hall's Reynard Mercedes, or Teo Fabi in the Reynard Ford? It looks as though de Ferran's out first. Yes, he is. My goodness me. He picked up quite a bit on Teo Fabi in that pit stop. Enough to matter anyway. And here comes Villeneuve. As de Ferran and Fabi come out of the pits, Villeneuve is bearing down on them. We'll have a break and be right back at Laguna Seca.
Eurosport Live.
Well, what a weekend for motor racing. After an absolutely stunning Italian Grand Prix this afternoon, we now have a magnificent IndyCar race here, the last of the year at Laguna Seca, and we're watching Gilles de Ferran and Jacques Villeneuve, two of the major talents of this year's IndyCar series. Gilles de Ferran in Jim Hall's Mercedes-powered Reynard, ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in Team Green's Ford-powered Reynard. They've got past the back marker who was holding them up, and it really is even Stevens now between de Ferran and Villeneuve. Teo Fabi was right with them, but he had a slightly slower pit stop than Gilles de Ferran. Villeneuve came in 1 lap earlier, and Al Unser came in 3 laps earlier. So anything could happen now. We have we're just about 5 laps short of half distance. And there's a lot of rubber building up offline, a lot of marbles building up offline. They're going to have to be very, very careful here. They're going to have to be inch perfect, and de Ferran will be watching Villeneuve at the same time as trying to get some space between him and the Canadian.
Take a short load of fuel. When I was calling the pit stop, you mentioned that he tried to pull away a little too early. I checked with the engineers here, and they said they planned on taking a shorter load of fuel. That's why they were able to do it in just over 10 seconds.
Well, gave him the lead and created a problem trying to catch for Jack. There was another potential problem. Look at this. This was on the lap out of the pits. DeFerrin closing on Carlos Guerrero. Now watch this.
Down to the hairpin. Watch Guerrero. Doesn't see him. Squeezes down the inside. Realizes the leaders are there. And thankfully gives them room.
We were talking about Villeneuve and in terms of what he does and how he approaches now, pit stops, everything. Despite the fact that he said it's a routine race for him at the start of the show, that's at least what he told me. The question is, doesn't he really have to be careful?
Oh, he has to be so careful. What Gilles DeFerrin's team did here with that short fuel load has given him a huge advantage because he has track position. He can go away from the traffic. Villeneuve, we saw him very close to DeFerrin for a couple of laps. There is no way he was going to take a chance and try and charge down the inside of DeFerrin and get his nose chopped off. He has to think championship. This has been a long haul for Team Green. They have done such a superb job at bringing Jack Villeneuve along, and they hope to be champions at the end of this day.
So no contest at the front of the field here at the moment. Villeneuve being very, very careful. This is Fangio, of course, driving for Pac West, and he is the replacement for Danny Sullivan this year. And next year, though, we're going to see some very interesting changes in his driving career because he will be a full-time IndyCar driver, we understand, with the new Dan Gurney Toyota-powered effort. Just ride here a moment, because with Fangio's car, you can just kind of peek over that protection on his helmet and take a look at the dash and some of the indicators.
Had a great debut at Mid-Ohio. In fact, has tested the Lola with the Judd engine in preparation for the Toyota Assault next year.
We're anticipating a stop by Jacques Villeneuve. There he is, Gary.
Unscheduled, Paul. Don't know what the problem is. I'm watching with the crew, changing all the tires. I don't know if he suspected he cut a tire or what. This is not fast either. They've got a problem trying to get the rears mounted. A championship could be in the balance. You just don't know. Now he's rolling. That was a 20-second stop.
Boy, and a lot of checking of suspension parts. You see him down there wiggling all the control arms. To be or not to be, Jacques Villeneuve needs to finish 8th or better to clinch the championship. And with that stop, he fell back into 11th place. And Al Unser Jr. needs to finish 3rd or worse if he's then eliminated from the championship. Right now, he is 6th, so he moves up while young Jack falls back.
Tony Sakala, Jacques' engineer, said earlier, anything can happen. He said Villeneuve, who's running 11th right now, makes very, very few mistakes in racing situations, but they feared a mechanical problem or getting sucked into somebody else's accident. And they have had a mechanical problem, and we do not know yet if it's cured because all they did was change tires.
I wonder what the report on the radio was. Boy, can you imagine the kind of reaction that it sent through the pits when he suddenly reported he was coming in. There's Al Unser Jr., runs 6th. He's chasing Scott Pruitt. That's just ahead of him. And remember, he has to get further forward if he wants to remain alive in this championship.
I mentioned Tony Sakala earlier when he began to talk about Al Unser Jr. When he thought, could he win? Sakala said, if Al Unser Jr. qualifies for a race, he's a potential race winner. He is that good in race conditions, and when he smells a possible victory, Al Unser Jr. is so good at making moves in traffic, particularly in braking zones. But Laguna Seca doesn't lend itself to long braking zones, particularly if the tires, if you have to be careful with them.
Al Unser Jr. needs 2nd place. Better yet, 1st.
He's already pulled his first move. He was one of the first to make the pit stops. Now he's going to see, will the rest of the race begin to fall in line for him.
And I'll tell you what, this is developing right here into a battle with great potential. 4th place, Grugelman, 5th place, Pruitt, and then Al Unser Jr. all lined up together. Gary Terrell?
Conflicting reports. Well, now, wait a minute. Barry Green is motioning me back up here. here. Barry, what was the problem?
Actually, a front tire, a puncture in the front tire. He thought it was something in the rear, so found the problem was back in there.
Okay, that clarifies the situation because all the concern was at the rear. Jacques on the radio thought something had broken in the rear. They checked it. They couldn't find any problem. Now they've examined the tires. There was a puncture up front. That's why the car wasn't handling.
You got a glimpse of Barry Green a little bit earlier. He, of course, is the owner of Team Green, Australian from Perth. One of the great guys in IndyCar racing. A lot of fun to be around. Good sense of humor, like most Australians.
One of the great team managers in IndyCar racing. Has a special discipline about his team. He says he wants his driver at the truck 1 hour before the start of every official session. He wants all his mechanics in the morning at the same time to start work. And he wants his driver in the car 15 minutes before the start of every session. He said it is a discipline that he believes everybody should adhere to. And who can complain about his success ratio? Look at Christian Fittipaldi gets loose.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve on the pit out lap fell from 11th down to 13th place, lined up behind 12th Christian Fittipaldi right now. Bottom of the hill will probably tell this pass. De Ferran's still the leader. Fabi is second, followed by Tracy Gugelmin and Pruitt. As now Jacques Villeneuve must work his way up through the field if he wants to clinch that championship.
35 laps gone at Laguna Seca, and Gilles de Ferran is the leader of the race. Behind him, it's Teo Fabi, then Paul Tracy, Maurizio Gugelmin, Scott Pruitt, and Al Unser Jr. Gilles de Ferran going inside the back marker. Looked a bit dodgy to begin with, but Gilles de Ferran really has a commanding lead of this race at the moment. Al Unser Jr. is in 6th position, and Jacques Villeneuve is down in 11th. He came.
And when Ari Leyendijk was invited down by awesome Al Arciero to go view that race shop, he said he walked in and he said, whoa, this is a very professional racing team. That was when his interest level went way up to try and get back to IndyCar racing with that particular team.
Well, Ivan Stewart probably can prove that that's one whale of a great race shop. So it's Gilles de Ferran that still leads. Paul Tracy is in 2nd place, and then this wonderful lineup of cars. Fabi Gugelmin, Unser Jr., Pruitt, Michael Andretti.
This is a great fight here. If you look closely at Teo Fabi's car, look at the side pod. The front of the side pod has a new aerodynamic device that has been pioneered by Formula One. See that black billboard on the front? In fact, that was developed by Gentech, which is the aerodynamic company that Benetton use in England. This Foresight racing team have a contract to aerodynamically develop their own Raynard chassis, and that side fence produces more downforce, and that car is under attack.
Gugelmin makes the move now on Teo Fabi and picks up 3rd place. So Fabi is certainly suffering aerodynamically somewhat from that cone there.
Oh, undoubtedly, that disturbs the airflow under the car. But we know that's where most of the downforce is made. Underneath these cars, sucks them down. Now Al Jr. goes down the inside.
And Al Jr. has Teo Fabi. So Al Unser Jr. moving up toward the front now.
Now to follow up on what Jan Vika said earlier, now does the team decide that they're losing too much time and too much track position by staying out there, or will that rubber nose cone wear itself away and fall off Teo Fabi's car?
So Al Unser Jr. has moved up to 4th place. 2 to go if he wants to remain in the championship. But at the same time, Villeneuve now runs in 11th place. So he's steadily coming forward. He needs 8th or better.
We have mentioned track position so often. When Villeneuve was the leader, it looks nice and easy, looks fast. Now that he's moved back to 11th place, he has to make his way past Christian Fittipaldi. We saw that earlier. He's passed Robbie Gordon, but it takes a long time to size up the opposition and make the move only when you're confident. And when you have a championship to think about, you better be very confident before you make the move.
Here's Gilles de Ferran. He's 1st place. He's had the fastest lap of the day at 108.1, and we look back now for 2nd place. It's 11 seconds back, and there he is, Paul Tracy in 2nd. Now we look for Maurizio Gugelmin to come over the top of the hill. And there there's third place for you. And fourth place, Al Unser Jr. comes down the hill, followed by Scott Pruitt. So that's the top of the order as the fight continues here. And don't forget, you want to see all the race highlights from the week that you would really care about? RPM tonight.
You're watching IndyCar live on Eurosport. We are just short of half distance here at Laguna Seca. Rob Widow's with you, and it could not be more exciting. Gilles de Ferran leads from Paul Tracy, Maurizio Gugelmin, and Al Unser is in fourth position. Things are not looking very good for Jacques Villeneuve right now. He's down in 12th place. Jacques Villeneuve in 12th position. He had to come into the pits for a front puncture, and Bobby Rahal is not at all happy with the Mexican Carlos Guerrero, and Bobby Rahal is not the first man to be unhappy with the Mexican this afternoon. He's been holding quite a few people up. He got badly in the way of Teo Fabi. As a result, Fabi went off the circuit and collected a traffic cone on his on the right-hand part of his front wing. Well, Bobby Rahal steers into the left-hander and shakes his right fist at the same time. He's now right up behind Teo Fabi. And there may be much more drama to come yet. This is going to be a very unpredictable race. We had so many ifs and buts at the beginning, and as we said, you really have to forget all about ifs and buts, yeses and nos and maybes in motor racing. It looked as though Jacques Villeneuve had this race under control, but that is very far from the case right now. Bobby Rahal, by the way, is moving up through the field, as he so often does in these IndyCar races. He's such a smooth, consistent, experienced driver, Rahal. With Mercedes power, he abandoned Honda. We've lost the picture. We apologise for the loss of picture, and we'll have it back just as soon as possible. We have it back as Gilles de Ferran leads on to yet another lap. This has been a superb race for the Brazilian. He's done so much work for Reynard. He's been so patient. He wanted to go to Formula 1 from Formula 3000. There just was not the right drive for him. He's gone to IndyCar, and he's done a very, very good job. And we'll go back live now to Laguna Seca.
Yeah, but we get you away from that quiet and back on course. This was just a few moments ago. Rahal commenting on the driving of Carlos Guerrero. Watch this. Now that's not a finable wave, right?
No, and it wasn't the first wave either. Villeneuve is in again.
Jacques Villeneuve, lap 45, is back in. He was in 15 laps ago. He'd moved up to 10th and gives it away with this stop. Tires once again. I didn't see any changes on the car, did you? Would have been at the rear wing if there was. Oh, look at the frustration. Roger Penske calculating.
Now remember what Barry Green said. They found a puncture in the right front the last time. So that poses another question as to what caused him to stop after so few laps this time. He's got a brand new tire on that left front. What a struggle this has become trying to win this championship for Jacques Villeneuve.
Gary Gerald, do you have any idea what's going on at Team Green?
Well, yeah, I saw a front tire that they were pushing on clearly way down in pressure. Tony Cicali in disgust, in contempt actually, pointing to the side of the tire, and I thought I saw a little cut or an abrasion there. And so this team that's hammering for a championship, they don't want this thing to have to wait out an appeal. They want it done today, and they're getting roadblock after roadblock. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Gary, on the other end of the championship battle, Al Unser Jr. seems to have things going his way. The car was a little bit loose, and they now have told him to go full stiff on the front sway bar. That will make the car tighten it up somewhat. Also, remember, he was one of the first to come in, so Al Unser Jr. is not that far away from making his second pit stop, Paul.
Al Unser Jr., fourth place, 22 laps since his last stop. 13, not a lucky number for Jacques Villeneuve. Both times he has come out of the pits with unscheduled stops. He's fallen into 13th place behind Christian Fittipaldi, and he's done that once again.
With Gary mentioning that one of Villeneuve's tires has a mark or a nick on the side, that suggests that somewhere along the line Villeneuve has been hit by a front wing end plate. That very easy cuts down these tires, and I don't know who he was trying to pass, but that may be what happened here to Villeneuve. But it's a long uphill battle still, Paul, for Al Jr. He has a long way to go yet. because Gugelmin and particularly Paul Tracy will not make his day easy if he has to get into the top 2 or 3 positions.
Yeah, he's really only moved himself up to the hard part. Marco Greco moves offline, lets Al Unser Jr. and Scott Pruitt through. Don't count out Scott. Once Jr. got past him, Scott's remained right in there. The story today, the continuing battle of tire conservation. Got to move forward, but at the same time, got to save your tires. Teo Fabi finally comes in, gets his unapproved aerodynamic device removed, and a change of tires. So Teo Fabi stopping for his second stop, 17 laps after his last. They finally, I guess, decided it was pushing him back way too far. And that's the tire that came off of Villeneuve's car.
And there is a chunk of rubber gone from that tire, but look, they're examining that tire to see, was it punctured, or is there something on his own car that might actually be nicking those front tires? Perhaps his front wheels rub on the wing of his own car for some reason.
Well, at least we're not aware of any contact that might have moved a wing around. You can see there on DeFerrin's car, though, how closely some of those components sit. And the tires themselves, operating in their dynamic mode, will flex back and forth. If it's moving too much and just barely touches a part, Jack could have a serious problem.
Gilles DeFerrin's last lap was a 78. 9 seconds off the pace of the pole man, Jacques Villeneuve, because he is caught in traffic. And there is our second place man.
Watching for third now. Matsushita, John Stone, and there's Gugelmin, the third place car.
That is a long straight. Then you go all the way back to a battle. Now, remember, Al Jr. needs to watch what goes on behind him also. Because to Scott Pruitt, this is a battle for position, remember, not just Pruitt letting Unser Jr. have his own way here. What a battle these two waged at the Michigan 500 when Pruitt did pull one over Al Jr. at the critical time on that last lap to win his first ever race.
So Al Unser Jr.'s team now talking about stopping in 6 laps on the 54th. We're just completing the 48th. DeFerrin is still the leader. Tracy, you saw the interval, 10 seconds back from DeFerrin, and then 8 seconds back from Tracy is Mauricio Gugelmin, and then this battle is 5 seconds further back from Gugelmin. Final race of the 1995 PPG IndyCar World Series. Championship still undecided. Could be decided here today, depending on the positioning of Jacques Villeneuve, who got around Christian Fittipaldi and moved into 12th place, but needs to be 8th or better. Al Unser Jr. needs 2nd or 1st. And if the points sort out in a wrong fashion, wrong from my point of view, then this heads off to an appeals court on September 18th, and the decision could sometime after that. The appeal, of course, for the disqualification of Al Unser Jr. at Portland.
Paul, here's an interesting scenario. Pruitt's all over Al Jr. If he sticks his nose down the inside, I'd have to let him go.
So 49 laps are now complete. Al Unser Jr. continuing to watch Scott Pruitt, who runs just behind him. Gilles DeFerrin still leads.
.33 laps to go here at Laguna Seca, and the news is slightly better for Jacques Villeneuve, and this is the reason. Al Unser Jr. cannot get away from Scott Pruitt, and of course, if he can't get away from Scott Pruitt, he is not going to pass Gugelmin or Tracy to get into 3rd or 2nd position, and no wonder no, it's Fittipaldi. I was going to say, I would have thought Unser may be coming into the pits as he's having such a battle to stay ahead of Scott Pruitt. In fact, it's Emerson Fittipaldi. He's way down in about 15th place. But watching on television, we think something may have come loose under the front wing of Villeneuve's car. In the odd close-up pictures we've had of that car, it looks as though something may be loose underneath the left part of the front wing, which could be chafing that left front tire. It's only something that we think we've seen here on the screen. Maybe you've seen it too, maybe you think you've seen it. But there could be something on that car that is chafing the front left. Anyway, it's bad news for Villeneuve, down in 12th position at the moment. But of course, Unser needs to be 1st or 2nd. We go back live now, though, for the latest news from the circuit. Paul Page and Derek Daly.
And Scott Pruitt must also have bad handling cars because he doesn't catch them that fast.
Al Unser Jr. up to the top of the hill, starts down through the corkscrew, Jan Beekes.
Yes, and Al Unser Jr. is another one of those cars that is starting to get loose because in 2 laps he'll be in here in the pits and they're going to take at least 1 turn out of the front wing to try and balance that car out. That may be why Pruitt has been able to close on him, Paul.
They're also preparing for de Ferran. You saw that they had his signboard out in the pits, ready for him to make a stop, the leader of the race. And Al Unser Jr. apparently going to stop on the next lap. So we watch for de Ferran to hit the pits. Paul Tracy should be in right behind him based on the last set of stops.
Watch Michael.
Look how slick. I mean, he continues to fight it. He's just having a devil of a time handling that car.
Well, you can see a driver earning his money here. That was Al Jr., you know, I think that locked up that brake on the way down to that turn 2. So he is under pressure. Pruitt will make a move.
Gil de Ferran makes his turn onto the pit road. His pit's pretty quickly there, and here's Gary Gerald.
The nose of the car comes in here. The team, the rookie driver that was fastest here during testing back in the month of June. What a weekend he's enjoyed. Well, Trappist said we will not make any changes on the car. Now, Paul Tracy is expected momentarily. He just flies by us into his pit, and they're expecting no changes. Both Tracy and de Ferran went for the short fill. Here's a 17-second stop, almost 18 for de Ferran as he's away.
De Ferran takes a very long stop. Mauricio Guzman climbs the hill, and Guzman goes into the lead, but he's not yet stopped. So Guzman picks up the lead from de Ferran on the stop, and Paul Tracy rolls now. Let's go to Jan.
Al Unser Jr. has brought it into the Penske pit, and somehow they happen to have the pit the only one here with shade. So at the moment, Al Unser Jr. getting a nice shade here from the bridge. You know, we were looking for that wing change, and I didn't see it. I didn't see him make the change at the front. A nice job, just over 15 seconds for Al Unser Jr.
So Al comes back into the fight. And here comes Teo Fabi to try and overhaul Al Unser Jr., who rejoins the fight at 8th, but looks like he's going to go a position down.
And that's Gordon Fernandez all over again, and they make it because Al Jr. doesn't need. He locks it up the right front, needs to keep this car on the road.
Brand new tires.
We talked earlier about de Ferran's 17-second leisurely stop. He was 14 seconds in the lead over Paul Tracy. So this temporary lead for Mauricio Guzman, I don't think he will threaten de Ferran's lead when Guzman stops.
I was going to be interested to see if Guzman stayed out, because he crossed the line behind de Ferran as de Ferran was coming out of the pits on the last stop. So this is the first lap that he'll be scored in the lead, and the first race that he has led since the Michigan 500. Let's go to Gary.
Here's some interesting speculation. We mentioned that Tracy and de Ferran took the short fill on the first stop. Scott Pruitt had problems on the first stop. He's currently running 3rd. He's stretching it. He's going to go 2 more laps, then he's coming in, and he's going to get a light load. It's going to be about 32 to 33 gallons. They think they can make up a lot of ground since the others had to take the long fill on their last stop. Will Pruitt become a contender? We're going to find out in about 2 laps.
Currently running in 3rd, de Ferran in 2nd, Pruitt 3rd. And I'm wondering now about Jacques Villeneuve. He is now 8th. That's the position he needs. He stopped 10 laps ago. Al Unser Jr. is in 10th. He has a long way to make up. And most of the cars in front of him, save 2, save Pruitt and Guzman, have already made their second stop of the day. So it looks like it's tilting once again a little bit toward Jacques Villeneuve.
And you can see that de Ferran is brave down that inside move, but you can also see there is lots of tire buildup offline now as this race goes on here. So anybody that wants to move high or forces himself to go high can get in trouble very easy, particularly on the downhill run out of the carousel, out of the corkscrew. Look at Gordon's broken right front wing.
Yeah, I think parts of it is laying over on the outside of turn 11. that'll change the handling. Though, you know, we have seen races, though, time after time where drivers, there's the other half of the wing. Time after time where the wing is turned down, the wing is missing, and the lap times don't change appreciably.
I don't think that'll be the case for Robbie Gordon. For some reason, Derek Walker, see that right front? No downforce on the right side of the front of the car. That's why the wheel is lightly loaded. That's why it locks up under braking. But Derek Walker is at pains to understand why on natural road courses they just simply have not been fast. This year they're fast everywhere else. But he realizes that engineering-wise they may...
A wanker, man.
That was an interesting comment by our boy Robbie. I don't know who he was talking about.
And Mauricio Guzman comes out of the lead, makes his stop. Jan?
Well, it hasn't come. Oh, for a moment there, it didn't come up off the air jacks. That's going to hurt the timing here for this pit stop. They got the wheels undone, but it took a while to come up. They're waiting for the fuel now. There was no changes made on the aerodynamics. Mauricio Guzman underway.
Well, they tried for the short fill, but it wasn't a short stop. 15.3 seconds for Scott Pruitt. I don't know if they had a problem, but they were hoping for something better than that. They're happy, but I think it could have been better.
So Pruitt and Guzman make their second and theoretically the final stop of the race. Michael Andretti coming down the hill, still in pursuit of Al Unser Jr. and just ahead of Teo Fabi. So the second round of stops complete. You saw during those stops Marco Greco with a shredded tire, and they've decided to make a physical change to the car. Apparently they do believe that part of the front wing and nose assembly is getting into that left front. So Jacques Villeneuve into the pits again. He was 10th when he came in. So again, he is dropping out of the position he needs to wrap up the championship here. And Al Unser Jr. cannot now get the bonus point for leading the most laps. And all Jacques has to do is 9th or better if he wants to clinch the championship. 57 laps complete. We're now in the closing moments of the season.
"26 laps to go at Laguna Seca, and Jacques Villeneuve has yet again been into the pits, and I think we were right. We did see something loose underneath that front wing on the left-hand side of the car, and certainly Villeneuve has been in for a new front wing, so I think what we saw was correct. Something was chafing the left front tyre, so now Villeneuve may really be able to go for it, and he's absolutely got to. Although there's no need for any panic, because Al Unser is down in 10th position, and he needs to be second, don't forget. So the championship looks as though it is going to go Villeneuve's way finally, but what a lot of anxiety and tension for Team Green this afternoon in California. Gilles de Ferran leads the race. This is marvellous news, not only for fans of Gilles de Ferran, but all fans of IndyCar, because Gilles done a tremendous job this year in his rookie year in the Mercedes-powered Reynard for Jim Hall. He leads, he's led most of the race this afternoon. He's driven absolutely beautifully. And with just over 25 laps to go, well, we will see the result of the pit stop soon, because everybody's been in for fuel and tyres, and as the race settles down now, we'll see who's got the fuel and tyre stops absolutely correct. Paul Tracy is second, Mauricio Guzman is third, Scott Pruitt is fourth, Michael Andretti is fifth. That's the top five as we go back now live to the Laguna Seca circuit, and Paul Page and Derek Daly.
Jacques Villeneuve to wrap up the championship. He's 13th. Al Unser Jr. is now in a must-win situation. He is in 7th place. And maybe now, finally, Gary Gerald, they have repaired the problem on Villeneuve's car.
But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of intrigue that surrounds the change. They pulled the old nose off. They immediately covered with a blanket. Billy Camphausen, one of the tech leaders for IndyCar, came over. We got a look at it. We saw some very ragged honeycomb down on the left front side plate of the wing, and then one of the crew members threw it under the blanket and literally ran with the wing back toward the transporter. So they've got it out of here, and the new wing, they're hoping, will not have any problems cutting down a tire. I'm still not, I don't know if they're convinced that was the problem, but they sure got it out of here in a hurry.
Well, as Derek has said so many times today, he can't take the chance. It's that simple. Jacques Villeneuve, 13th. You can see Teo Fabi got around Al Unser Jr. Jan Vikas.
Earlier we saw Marco Greco come in with that shredded tire, but up here in Robbie Gordon's pit you can see that the nose is smashed, the wing is missing. That was the of contact that happened between Robbie Gordon and Marco Greco. Simply a case of Gordon working through, Greco not seeing him turning in, and big-time contact, as you can see.
And so they have now changed it out for a fresh wing. I assume everything's in good shape on the new nose. Villeneuve, 13th. All 26 cars that started this race are still running. We're 60 laps into the run, 24 laps to go in the season.
Including Brian Herta, so maybe Chip Ganassi now knows what that gremlin was, and it will be fixed for next year.
Villeneuve, 13th place, needs 9th or better. Ahead of him, Johnstone, Rivero, and Fernandez. Let's go back to Fangio. Take a look at his onboard camera. As he comes, I was hoping to get to you a little faster than that so you can see him dive down the carousel, but maybe we can stay an entire lap.
Originally, Danny Sullivan had hoped to get back into this Bank of America car for this last race at Laguna, but that was a bit ambitious with the broken pelvis. But we have an onboard camera to see everything that Fangio learned, because it is a learning curve during his first, I suppose it is his rookie IndyCar season, although he doesn't run many races. Balancing the car through the corners with the throttle is the whole key to the overall lap here. One fast corner is no good.
As we watch Fangio, Gary Gerald, an update on Villeneuve?
Well, Barry Green talking to his driver, and the veteran Green trying to keep his driver right in step. He says, we're P13 now. Partner Johnstone is next. P9 is all we need. Just stay focused. They just keep talking him around it. They don't want him to get frustrated over this turn of events with the cut tires.
9th place is what he needs now. Alonso Jr. needs to win. The bonus point beginning to make a difference here. DeFerrin's still the leader.
And look at those chunks of rubber beginning to get kicked up on the side of the racetrack. As you go down through from the carousel, down through turn 9 in particular, the next corner, the left-hander they're going to go to now, you can clearly see the marbles on the outside of the racing line. There they are right there. Huge buildup of rubber.
And inside.
And inside also.
Don't want to venture out there. We continue to watch Little Al. He closes once again on Teo Fabian.
When he came in for that pit stop, he was very happy with the handling of the car. He has slipped back in position, not because there's any problem with the car, but just by virtue of the timing of that pit stop. So he has the potential of getting back to those positions he had earlier, but at the moment, a lot of traffic to work through, Paul.
Right behind there is Bobby Rahal. Every winner at Laguna Seca started from the front row but one, and that was Rahal in '87 when he started third. DeFerrin started third today. Fastest lap of the race by Gilles DeFerrin came on lap 7, chasing Jack Villeneuve, 108.1 miles an hour. The EDS scoring system flashing all these facts to us. Really, we're talking multiple systems that EDS supplies. We watch and have everything controlled off of a system provided specifically for television. The media has another system, and then there's an absolute fail-safe system that works for the officials of the race. So should we lose what we have, they still readily score the race, all electronically, all by computer. It's really marvelous.
Vassar, whose car does not like the sunshine. As soon as the sun comes out, this car becomes a bit of a handful. This is a fight for position, though, behind Bobby Rahal. Interesting, when it was cool, Jimmy Vassar had the fastest car here on the morning warm-up this morning and yesterday morning, Saturday.
62 laps complete, 84 the scheduled distance. It's still DeFerrin leading Paul Tracy, and Jack Villeneuve and Alonso Jr. battle.
We now have 20 laps to go here at Laguna Seca in the last IndyCar race of the season as you watch Andre Ribeiro climbing out of the Honda-powered car. He lost it as the leader Gilles DeFerrin went past him. He went off on the outside of the circuit across the sand and There is no way he's going to take any further part in this race, quite obviously. He's had some good races this year, Andre Ribeiro, but he is out here at Laguna Seca. There are no yellow flags as yet. The car is in a safe position. The running order is though Gilles de Ferran still leads from Paul Tracy, Maurizio Gugelmin, Scott Pruitt, Michael Andretti and Teo Fabi in 6th position. Al Unser is in 7th and Jacques Villeneuve is 13th. Whoa, that looked as though that was going to happen for a few seconds, and then it did, and this may well bring out a yellow flag. No, that's the Ribeiro accident. My apologies. That was a replay of the Ribeiro accident. And we now know that car is in a safe position, so no yellows. Anyway, Gilles de Ferran leads with less than 20 laps to go, and well, a motor racing accident, but Ribeiro lucky to get away with that. It was either Herter or Vasser. I think that was Vasser running wide into Ribeiro and sending Ribeiro sliding at high speed across the sand and into the concrete barrier. One of the Chip Ganassi cars, either Herter or Vasser, I think it was Jimmy Vasser, running very wide, and Ribeiro trying to stay on his outside through that corner, and it was never going to come off for either of them. So, Gilles de Ferran really driving a superb race this afternoon in California. The pace car is out. So with 65 laps gone, the pace car is out. They obviously feel that Ribeiro's car is in a dangerous position. You can see the top 6 for yourselves. And I remind you that Jacques Villeneuve is in 13th position. What a shame that Team Green did not have a TV monitor so they could have seen those close-up pictures that we saw of something breaking loose on the left part of the front wing of that Reynard. I'm sure that's what caused the tyre to chafe. But anyway, Villeneuve still has a chance. Now, Al Unser Jr. is not in a championship position at the moment by any means. He's down in 7th place. And don't forget, there is still that protest outstanding from Portland way back in the season. Well, 3 or 4 races ago now from Portland. The Penske team is protesting Al Jr.'s disqualification from that race, and that will be heard on the 18th of September, another 8 days from now. And what a disappointment it would be if the IndyCar Championship had to wait until that protest is heard. Well, we have 18 laps to go, and let's hope it's decided on the racetrack today as the cars now form up behind the pace car. We've had very, very few retirements today, very few. Andre Ribeiro, one of only 2 retirements in this race, so there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of rubber building up on the circuit, a lot of marbles. You've got to keep absolutely on the racing line, and these last 18 or 19 laps are going to be absolutely crucial for not only Gilles de Ferran, who's looking for his first win of the season. He so nearly had one, but then had an argument, coming together with Scott Pruitt, and lost that almost certain victory. And Gilles really does deserve a win in this, his first year of IndyCar. He's driven beautifully on many occasions. He's had his fair share of mechanical faults. He's had a couple of offs, but nobody at Reynard would be, everybody at Reynard, should I say, everybody at Reynard would be really, really thrilled to see Gilles get a win today. They've already got the Constructors' Championship. Of course, they'd much preferred if they could see Villeneuve take a proper championship victory this afternoon, so they could have the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championships properly sewn up without anything decided in the courtroom, in a protest hearing. That's not the way that's not what IndyCar wants. It's not what the fans want. And we shall have to wait another 17 laps here at Laguna Seca in the California sunshine to see exactly what happens. We're riding at the moment with Paul Tracy in the Newman Haas Lola. He's off to Penske next year. In fact, it's Michael Andretti. My apologies, Michael Andretti. But Paul Tracy goes to Penske next season. He's going to start testing for them in just a fortnight's time. And another man, of course, who'll be starting a very, very heavy testing program is Jacques Villeneuve, who'll be coming over to Europe and testing for Williams. This is Bobby Rahal's car. A fairly low-key race today for Bobby Rahal, the man who looked as though he was in with a chance of the championship earlier in the year. Not a great day for Bobby Rahal. But very few incidents really bearing in mind it's the last race of the year and there are a lot of people out there with a lot of things to prove. It's not only contract time, it's also time for getting new sponsors and convincing your current sponsors to stay with you. Many people are looking for new teams and teams looking for new drivers, but this man in the yellow, Jim Hall-Reynard, who leads the field round, has had a tremendous day at Laguna Seca, and dare we say, no, let's not say. Paul Tracy in second, then Gugelmin, a great day for Gugelmin, and there is Al Jr. down in 7th position, and Villeneuve now up to 11th. I say up to 11th because he was in 13th place. He needs to get higher than this to secure the championship. He's got Parker Johnstone in front of him. He should be able to deal with Parker Johnstone, especially now that he has the new front wing on the Reynard, having solved whatever problem that was, whether it was loose carbon fibre or a loose wing end plate, whatever it was, we're not absolutely sure, but there was certainly something wrong with that front wing from very, very early on in the race. Easier to see on TV than on the racetrack, of course. A huge crowd here at Monterey today to watch the race at Laguna Seca. It's a very popular race in the series. They always get a big crowd. It's a great place to watch. There are some fantastic viewing places, and a walk around the circuit is very, very rewarding. You can see cars in all kinds of different corners, uphill and downhill, and a great place to end the season. And there'll be a lot of drivers at Laguna Seca today looking for work next year. We've already seen Arie Luyendyk spectating, and you can be sure there'll be others. We apologise for the loss of picture. It'll be back in just a few seconds. We've had a couple of glitches on the coverage from California this evening. Now we're back. In fact, we were just waiting for the field to arrive down here at the hairpin. And thought the picture had frozen there for a moment. But there he is, Gilles de Ferran, the Brazilian, ex-Formula 3000 driver, decided to not to tug around at the back of Formula One in a team that he didn't feel was good enough, or in a number of teams he didn't feel were good enough. He decided to go to America, prove his talent there, and he's had some good drives. Whether or not he'll now stay permanently in IndyCar remains to be seen. Christian Fittipaldi, another ex-Formula One man, has had a difficult race today. He's had several unscheduled pit stops, and you can see he's down in 13th position, and an even worse day for his uncle Emerson. Unser Jr. now into 6th position, and Villeneuve in 11th, and that's what we need to watch for the remainder of this race. That's the thing that interests everybody now at the end of the season. Can Villeneuve lift the championship today, put his IndyCar down, get on the plane, come to Europe and start to concentrate on partnering Damon Hill in the Williams Formula One team next season? There's Raul Boesel just ahead of Christian Fittipaldi. A bad day for Raul Boesel today. He's had a poor season really, Boesel, after some encouraging showings early in the year. The two Penske's running together. What will Emerson Fittipaldi do next year? There have been rumours about his retirement. The most remarkable racing driver, Emerson. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. 25 years of success, an extraordinary talent, but not a good year for him in America this year.
And remember, Villeneuve got the bad break with the pace car, because if de Ferran had been behind Villeneuve when that yellow came out, he would have made up a whole lap and would have made his job a lot easier. Again, only if Alonso Jr. wins the race will he need all those precious positions.
So back to green flag. You rode for a moment there with second place Paul Tracy, who sits just behind Jacques Villeneuve, who is a lap down. De Ferran is able to ease away. Oh, more than ease away.
De Ferran is in control here. Unless he has mechanical failures, he looks as he has the potential to cover everybody and maybe extend their tremendous record that IndyCar has this year.
Well, look at Michael Andretti alongside of Scott Pruitt. They go through this corner side by side, pushes Pruitt off. That can be a very dangerous corner to run off the right side. Pruitt keeps it under control. They climb the hill. Now will Pruitt be able to challenge? He's got Marco Greco between him now, or just in front of Michael. And Greco falls offline. They both come screaming down the hill.
And that was a case of who was going to blink. Unfortunately for Scott Pruitt, Michael had that inside line, which is a harder turn to make. But Scott Pruitt rode him all the way, and he was lucky that he didn't get all four wheels off the racetrack. That was a very scary move. And Al Jr. squeaked past Emerson Fittipaldi.
So Al Unser Jr., 6th place, still trying to come forward. There comes Sam Pedri.
The problem Al Jr. has now is, how hard is too hard? You have to make up your own mind inside your helmet. How risky can I begin to make these moves? But quite frankly, with so few laps, only 14 laps left, I think somebody like Al Unser Jr. now has to throw caution to the wind, and he has to get aggressive and take gambles, because if he doesn't, he's not going to win this. What was that?
Another car off on the left side of the race course.
Was that Christian?
Yes, Christian Fittipaldi. Remember, he moves to Newman Haas next year.
Boy, talk about losing track position now.
On board now, Fangio, as Michael Andretti comes down the hill in 4th place.
Michael and Peter Gibbons have been in deep in thought all weekend here, trying to work out a compromise handling package for Michael. But you can see Michael's car move around so much, and he slides down the inside, and Fangio gives him just enough room.
Just ahead, the 14 car. Ekblom, interesting story on his arriving in A.J. Foyt's car. On his way to be married in Hawaii. Just happened to be convenient, passing through Monterey.
Sounds like good credentials to get a drive to me. A lot of people getting married.
Yeah, the season's over. We're going to have Herta get married.
Ryan Herta gets married next week. He then has a honeymoon in Greece. Then he goes back to Indianapolis to have some of the hardware taken from his leg. And in fact, his team owner, Chip Ganassi, will hear the wedding bells next week. What's Michael doing? Who's he waving?
What was that gesture? Just a tearaway going on?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And the reason
Nobody
it looks like a wave,
there.
yeah, the reason it looks like a wave is he's doing 150 miles an hour. As soon as he sticks his hand out of the cockpit, the wind just drags his hand back. There's so much dust and sand flies here when cars go offline. When you follow cars for long periods, you get oil smears on your visor. Then the dust and dirt sticks to it. Then you take the rip-off off, and you got a nice clear windscreen again.
Unser Jr. is in 6th place. He needs first. The focus of the fight now, there's a presumption that the PPG Cup is moving closer and closer to the pit of Jacques Villeneuve, and will be awarded to him here as the youngest ever champion in the Indy cars. So the focus now will move to the battle at the front of the field. Bujelman is in 3rd place. Paul Tracy is in 2nd. And Gilles de Ferran is 12 laps away from his first IndyCar win.
And of course, you are talking irrespective of what happens in the appeal. Even if they got all their points back from Portland, it won't make any difference. Look at the traffic jam here.
Yeah, it's much simpler now. Al Unser needs to win.
And Vassar and Rahal, that is a position battle there. 7th is Rahal. Jimmy Vassar is 8th. So this is a good fight here.
There comes little Al down the hill. There's Vassar and Rahal.
Johansson is struggling. He's in the mix there. He's a lap down in 14th. Look at Rahal. We saw him wave his fist earlier. He jerks to the inside, doesn't get by Ekblom. Vassar
continues in pursuit. Tries the inside. Gordon's right there as well. Rahal all the way, though.
Oh, look at
braking. Whoa! As Gordon tucks around.
Vassar locks up the left front. Vassar trying to get by Rahal. Good race here. Good battle here for these positions. Points all the way down to 12th.
Gordon, while he's physically present, is not actually into the fight. He's had one very tough day, having to replace a nose after contact. Fell out on the first lap, slid off the course, got back on. He's way, way down in the order.
Now there's the sand. You saw Rahal go wide. You saw the sand get swirled in behind. the tires of Rahal's car, and Vassar has to run over that. That is one of the difficulties here. In fact, part of those $1 million plus development that Laguna Seca will go through next year is in fact to put curbing, exiting curbing on the outside of most of these corners.
Bobby Rahal, every race he has finished. He's been in the top 10 except one. He was 13th at Milwaukee.
Don't know yet whether he will have a one or a two-car team next year. He wants to keep a two-car team. They hope to stay together with Raul Boesel, although the partnership of Carl Hogan and Bobby Rahal will be over and done with after about, what, 10 more laps.
That's some indication that Carl Hogan then joins in some way or another forces with Roger Penske.
There's that dust again. You see that gets swirled up by Rahal. Watch, he goes close to the curb again. As soon as you get outside that white line, that's when you begin to suck the sand onto the racing line.
Bobby Rahal continues in 7th place. 74 laps are complete. Al Unser Jr. is 6th. Needs a win. Gilles de Ferran may be scoring his first.
At this point, with only 10 laps remaining in.
Under 10 laps to go here at Laguna Seca, and it looks very much as though Jacques Villeneuve is going to be the IndyCar champion for 1995. Al Unser Jr. is way down in 6th position, and looking at the race at the moment, there really is, well, no chance really, unless a miracle happens, of Al Jr. being first or second in this race. 9 laps to go, and the order is Gilles de Ferran leading in the Reynard Mercedes, from Paul Tracy in the Lola Ford, Maurizio Gugelmin in the Reynard Ford, Michael Andretti in the Lola Ford, Scott Pruitt in another Lola Ford, and in 6th position, as we said, Al Unser Jr. in the Penske Mercedes. But a man on the move at the moment is Bobby Rahal. He's in 7th position, and with just under 9 laps to go, he's really beginning to move at the moment. He's got a bit stuck behind Stefan Johansson, who's not had a good race today in last year's Penske. But there'll be a lot of excitement in the Jim Hall pit at the moment. This is a very, very tense part of the race in any motor race. There's a lot of rubber on the circuit, a lot of dust and general gunk around off the racing line, and one tiny mistake from Gilles would mean throwing away his first ever IndyCar win. But at the moment, it has to be said, he has not made any mistakes at all. He's driven absolutely beautifully. He has a good lead over Paul Tracy, which will be a great relief to Gilles de Ferran, because Paul Tracy is, shall we say, well, he's a very aggressive racing driver. So Gilles looking pretty comfortable in the lead at the moment. Unser down in 6th, and it looks as though we'll have Jacques Villeneuve as this year's champion.
Development engine program with Ford this year, and we just had a lot of problems, and as an engine took me out at the beginning. It cost us a bunch of laps, and from that point I got together with Andre Ribeiro, and I never saw him coming, and then the steering wheel broke on the car. I mean, it's just just a terrible day for the Target Scotch cars. So much promise, and yet we got nothing to go home with.
He starts with a clean slate. Next weekend you get married. Best wishes for that, at least, and good luck in 96.
Thank you.
Wonder if now we've heard 2 comments that telegraph that maybe they're not going to be a Ford team in the future.
I don't know, but with the emotion in his voice, I would suggest he just grabs Jeanette and go sit on the beach in Greece and enjoy yourself, and just look forward to a much more productive next year, because Brian Herta has all the speed and the technical ability that he needs to be a winner. He's already been on the pole, but he hasn't quite won yet.
Physically on the racetrack, just behind Jimmy Vasser, is Robbie Gordon. As we watch Al Unser Jr. move on Scott Pruitt, tries to get him, can't get it done. Pruitt comes across.
It's not over yet.
Maintains the line, but look at him coming off the corner.
Oh, there's one of the moves we talked about earlier. How brave can you be? Down the inside, rode Pruitt all the way, and of course Pruitt then locked up the brakes and kept the position.
This is a day that these two are going to talk about later. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, just to follow up on your comment about 96 and what would be the power plant of choice for Chip Ganassi, I just put the question to him a moment ago. He said, well, I have no comment.
So Pruitt still in front of little Al.
was one of the changes we thought might be made was that the Newman Haas team would go with Honda power plants, but in fact, along with Christian Fittipoli's announcement this weekend, they also announced, in fact, they will have Ford power next season for Michael and Christian.
Scott Pruitt heading for turn 10. Again, over $1 million in improvements coming to just this section of the race course next year. Lengthen out the pit, change the position of turn 11. I'll tell you what, folks up here, you know, and much of what happens at this race all goes to charity. It's such a great event and a good way to end the season.
I just heard something misfire. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was Scott Pruitt. It was as Scott Pruitt went by one of our camera positions. It doesn't look as if he's any trouble here, but this team led by Jim McGee, I think, Paul, it's fair to say, has more fun than anybody else. They have such a relaxed style and outlook about this team. They believe so much in Scott Pruitt, particularly as a test driver, and he's so good in racing situations. Great to see that he did get his first win. And their test program starts immediately after this race finishes.
I'll tell you something else. Scott, like so many others here, it's a big family deal for him. His family is always at all the racetracks. You see his mom all the time, but that's true of everybody. Al Unser Jr. actually camps at most of the racetracks. 5 laps to go in the season. By the way, congratulations to the Daly family. Beth Daly, going to be the Rookie of the Year in
the Pro Women's Division of the IJSBA Pro National Jet Ski Tour.
Glad you remember.
You prompted me to say it. I had to go through it.
Congratulations.
You hear that misfire again?
Yeah.
There's something misfiring as Scott Pruitt goes under our camera position.
He cracks the throttle just over the top of the hill. We were talking about Robbie Gordon. I just want to wrap that up. Robbie Gordon, when he finishes here today, there's a helicopter racing, and he's waiting because he's going off-road racing. Yet today, Gil DeFerrin climbs the hill, the leader of the race.
They deserve a win.
Absolutely they do.
That team has done a good job. They have shown so much speed. Gil DeFerrin almost won the European 3000 Championship last year, has already had a test in a Formula 1 car with Frank Williams. Unfortunately, David Coulthard tested the following week and he got the drive. But Gil DeFerrin has shown such a turn of speed, and they will move to the Honda engine power plant for next season.
And there's second place Paul Tracy, 8 seconds back from DeFerrin. Just ahead of him is Villeneuve on his way to a championship. Gugelman and Andretti. This could develop into a battle for third pretty quickly. 4 laps to go in the PPG IndyCar World Series for 1995. Season fires up again with the first race at Miami next year. New track. And in fact, from what we've seen of that track that Ralph Sanchez is putting together, it's going to be spectacular. Multi-purpose facility out at Homestead.
Winter test program down there for 5 days in January. It will be spectacular. Oh, look at Tracy. That has been the rule of thumb here. When cars begin to get away from you, you know the tires are going off. Michael in chase.
Oh, they all get in. We're going to hear, I'm sure. Boy, that's the slickest I've ever run on.
And right now, unless there's an awful big crash or an awful lot of very fast racing cars dropping out with mechanical failure, Barry Green can begin to lick his lips and taste that champagne, because he is so close now to taking that championship home.
Yeah, but I'm willing to bet that he's not doing it yet. I mean, he's so careful. He wants to see the flag. He wants to know it's over. There's DeFerrin as he comes off of the second turn, goes into 3.
That's what 8 seconds of a lead looks like at Laguna Seca. Remember, though, he is in such control here, he doesn't need to go over the limit. Just nice and consistent. He lost his first race win with precious laps to go at Cleveland when he tripped over a back marker.
His car owner, Jim Hall, they move over to Honda next year.
I asked Jim, does he still get the same kick out of racing now when he can't be quite as inventive as he was in years past. Remember the Chaparral, the High Wing, the Sucker vacuum car, sports car that Jackie Stewart drove, never won a race, but it was spectacular. He said he still gets a kick from racing and winning at the front, even though IndyCar racing is controlled and regulated so much more than racing in the past was, and not allowing people like Jim Hall to be as inventive as he likes to be.
Well, even with that car, the Sucker car of Jackie Stewart, he outlawed it so quick that he...
that gives you an idea how the potential of that car has.
Here comes Michael now closing down on Gugelmin as this battle heats up. Battle for third.
Let's listen to Michael playing with throttle. So he gets loose, corrects it. Is he loose here? Yes, he is. Middle correction. Higher speed. It's okay through there. This is the hard one. Turn 5 up the hill. Watch the steering wheel. Turns in. Good there. Of course, remember, he can control the oversteer with the amount of power he puts on. You can drive with the front wheels, and you can also drive with the back wheels, depending the power you put on. Oh, look at this.
This driver can win this race as he takes the white flag. He will also win Rookie of the Year by a single point. How great is that? So DeFerrin starts his final lap. Jill DeFerrin, who was close to victory, as Derek suggested at Cleveland. Jim Hall, his owner, looking for a victory here today. Paul Tracy 9 seconds back in 7. Jim smiled just a little bit.
And of course, we documented a great race at Vancouver when he almost missed it. They virtually rebuilt their spare car while Valvoline fueled all the racing cars for the restart, gave him an opportunity to finish second. What a way to finish the season. What a way to finish the season for Jim Hall. And few people will argue that they deserve this win. We're going to have 5 first-time winners.
Isn't that great?
5 first-time winners. Has never been better IndyCar racing than it has been this year.
The final lap of the PPG IndyCar World Series, and it's going to supply us with a brand new winner in the person of Jill DeFerrin. 5th first-time ever winner this year. 10th different driver to win a race this year. That's a record. And the first win for Jim Hall since 1991 as the checkered flag is unfurled. He acknowledges the flag, comes under the Toyota bridge, and Jill DeFerrin has won it. But now Michael Andretti tries to make a move in the last corner. On Gugelmin, he can't get it done. Tracy finishes second. Gugelmin third. Michael Andretti fourth. Scott Pruitt fifth. Al Unser Jr. will come across the line in 6th place, and Jack Villeneuve will take the championship, Gary.
I'll tell you what, I don't know how you ever get used to this feeling that Jim Hall has right now. First time since the spring of '91. What a way to cap the season.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We've been working hard to do it, and we got a good team together, and they finally put it together. We knew we could do it this year, but it took a long time, and we're pleased. It's a great way to finish the season.
Spectacular, as they got second last week. They win it here. Let's go to Jan.
Well, with even greater emotions, I'm sure, is Barry Green. How are your nerves here? Congratulations on the championship.
Thanks, John. What a great day. I mean, you know, I've been worried there for a while. It wasn't a normal day at the office for us. Junior was mounting his attack through the field, and you know, we were going backwards there for a while, but we had 2 punctures and knocked the front wing off and hit some debris on the racetrack. But I mean, we soldiered on. The guys did a great job, still finished 11th, and got the championship. Just feels fantastic. Got to thank all my sponsors, Players and Klein Tools and Ray Bestis, just all for all their support, and great team effort on Team Green's part. I mean, I just love them all.
Well, judging by your hat, you guys had a lot of confidence coming in already there. 1995 IndyCar champion. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, John. It feels damn good, I tell you. Thank you.
I want one of those Team Green, the 1995 IndyCar champion caps. They've held them on now for 3 races, and finally the dream comes true. a Canadian, the youngest ever to win an IndyCar championship. Jacques Villeneuve has taken the win in the IndyCar series. We'll be back to talk with him.
Well, that is a very, very good result on 2 counts. Gilles de Ferran wins the race, his first ever IndyCar win and Rookie of the Year, and Jacques Villeneuve is the 1995 IndyCar champion. A great day in California. And to round up the top 6 again for you was this man here, Gilles de Ferran for Paul Tracy, Maurizio Gugelmin, Michael Andretti, Scott Pruitt and Al Unser in 6th position. Jacques Villeneuve finished 11th, but that really doesn't matter. He is the IndyCar champion. A great IndyCar season. It's been absolutely thrilling, every race exciting, not a dull moment this year, and ever since we began in March there has been interest, intrigue, drama and excitement both on and off the racetrack, and that's exactly what motor racing is all about. It's been a good year for Honda. They've got their engine program together and they will probably be even stronger next year. Firestone tyres are beginning to come good. Gilles de Ferran, the Rookie of the Year, has not surprised many people. I think everybody thought he was going to be quick, and boy, he has been. And a well-deserved win for the Brazilian. Not a good year for Penske, well, not by their standards anyway. A great year for Reynard, champion constructors, and there is the man of the moment, the young 24-year-old French-Canadian Jacques Villeneuve, and we'll be seeing a lot of him in Europe next season, and maybe we'll get a few words now with very, very happy Gilles de Ferran. No, we don't, but I'm sure we will in just a few moments be talking to Gilles. He looks absolutely cool, calm and collected, as he almost always does, and I'm sure his friend David Coulthard will be very pleased to see this fella. And there is de Ferran Jr. and that is a very, very nice picture. That is a great picture. What a wonderful way to end the season. I'm not going to get much chance of peace and quiet, Gilles, I don't think.
Emotion, you know. But the crew did such a fantastic job. We came very close over here, and this is just great. I mean, I can't express myself better.
She's fascinated by this microphone. Last week you had to come through adversity with a backup car at the last minute to finish second. Now you get the win. Did you ever think that you could cap off a rookie season as you have done in an 8-day span?
Well, I don't know. I just tried my best, and the team did such a great job. I mean, this weekend we had everybody covered. It was really good. I mean, it was a reward for the whole season's work. I'm just very pleased. The Pennzoil team is just the best, and I'll be here next year.
You are now the Rookie of the Year in this most competitive series. What do you think that'll mean to your countrymen in Brazil?
Good luck. That means a lot to me, for sure, and I think it will mean a lot to all the fans, both here and back in Brazil. This is a great feeling. I can't express it. I've never felt that good.
Does it make up for the disappointment of Cleveland when you were that close to getting the first win?
And more. It makes up, and it's better again.
We'll let him savor the moment with his lovely daughter, his wife, the crew, the family, and of course the Brazilian announcers. They want to send the word to their homeland. What a magnificent moment as we congratulate Gilles de Ferran. Let's
what
go
a
to
way to end the season with all the family there. And here's the champion, Jacques Villeneuve, looking
I know for you it's a huge
pretty relieved
to finish it here and not have to wait till September.
Oh yeah, it's great to know what the championship is right now. Whatever happened with the appeal, we've won it, and then that's great for all Team Green. They've done a great job all season. The championship, it shows the chemistry, the work of a whole season, and they sure proved they were the best.
Now share your emotions. We know you're leaving next year. Is this a bittersweet moment for you? I mean, you've won the championship, but this is your last IndyCar race for a while.
Yeah, it was the last race with all the guys there, and it's going to be tough, and it would have been great if we could have finished on the podium. But, we did a lot of pit stops today, so we worked well together.
I know, Jacques, you've got a lot of celebrating to do. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Gary Gerald.
And Paul Tracy.
Well, as Jacques rightly says, it is going to be tough. Formula One is tough, whoever you are and wherever you are. But that is a tremendous victory for Jacques Villeneuve. Paul Tracy, second today, Tracy, and off to Penske next season.
Well, I thought before we got that yellow when we were holding station with him that if we got a yellow, we were going to get a chance. And but he was just too strong for us. He drove a fantastic race for Jim Hall, and I'm really proud of him. He did a good job. We struggled the last 15 laps with tires. I ran out of rear tires and was hanging on the last bit, and Gugelmin was able to catch up. But we brought it home for the Kmart Budweiser car in second. It's a fantastic end of the year.
Any emotions now that might be a little bit strange as you go back toward Team Penske, cutting now this association after 1 year with Newman Haas?
Well, it's been a great association. I think we haven't lived up to what our promise was, but all the crew guys did a great job this year. They really put their heart into it, and great pit stops. Was able to get me by people all year long, and I got to really thank them. And it's moving on, I guess, back home, back to Penske where I started. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have a full test program over the winter, so I'm really jazzed about that.
With 10 different winners this year, I think the message is clearly written. It's tough to become a champion. You've got a big challenge next year.
That's for sure. It's definitely tough to win, and just to get a win is tough with so many guys are running so strong. And it's this is the best championship in the world, I think.
Okay, claim that spot on the podium. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gary.
And Paul?
Paul Tracy, one of the people, along with Michael Andretti, who will be very interested to see how Villeneuve goes in Formula One next season. And he seems to be having a knot-shaving competition with Johnny Herbert at the moment. Paul Tracy seems to be sporting that stubble every time we see him these days. And looking at Johnny today on the grid at Monza, he obviously is enjoying having a bit of stubble. Anyway, apart from all that, the end of a tremendous IndyCar season, and a great place to end the season in the sunshine of California at Laguna Seca near the city of Monterey on the west coast of the United States. Great atmosphere at this meeting, and I think everybody, apart of course from the opposition, will be very happy to see young Villeneuve be the IndyCar champion. And certainly Gilles de Ferran has a lot of fans in America, as well as all those legions of fans over here in Europe. And everybody at Reynard will be over the moon, I think is the cliche. They'll be totally delighted to see Gilles win that race today at Laguna. And what a year for Reynard too, champion constructors. And there'll be a lot of people wanting to order a Reynard, I'm sure, for 1996. Whether they want to have a Mercedes power plant or a Honda or a Ford remains to be seen. The Ford engine's given a few problems to Newman Haas and Ganassi this season, but Ford is a big, strong company, and they'll be right back on top. But what about Toyota? Next season, of course, Dan Gurney's coming in with the Eagle team and a Toyota engine, and it'll be interesting to see how they go. There's Maurizio Gugelmin. And we're not going to hear from Maurizio, unfortunately, but a good drive from him today. Third position for Maurizio, and he's had a good year in IndyCar, an up and down year, but a good year generally. He's had some very impressive drives, and look at that, 2 Brazilians in the top 3. And then Americans 4th, 5th and 6th, and a Canadian in 2nd position. That man in 13th place, Juan Fangio, he'll be driving for Dan Gurney's Toyota Eagle team next season. It's unlikely that they'll start winning straight away next season. There'll be a lot of development still to be done on both that Toyota engine and the car. They haven't done a tremendous amount of testing yet. And the 2 retirements, Brian Herter and Andre Ribeiro. Brian Herter and Andre Ribeiro having a collision, a spectacular collision for Ribeiro, which put him out of the race, and eventually Brian Herter retired as well. Herter, the teammate to Jimmy Vasser, who I think has been one of the most interesting points of the season, really. Jimmy Vasser, very quick in Formula Atlantic, coming to IndyCar. This is his 2nd season of it, and some very impressive performances from Jimmy Vasser. He'll definitely be a man to watch next year. And we go back now to watch some of the highlights of this race. This quite obviously is the start, with Villeneuve taking the lead and Robbie Gordon losing it already. Not a good day for Robbie Gordon. That's Adrian Fernandez coming into the corkscrew, getting it very wrong indeed. Alessandro Zampedri stranded on the circuit. This is our first pit stop for Gilles de Ferran, and went extremely smoothly, as did all de Ferran's pit stops today. And Villeneuve comes round just in time to slot into 2nd position behind de Ferran. Things didn't look too bad for Villeneuve at this stage, but now they did. a lot of trouble with the left front tyre today, Jacques Villeneuve, and that turned out to be caused by something working loose underneath the left part of the front wing. More trouble for Robbie Gordon, this time running into Guerrero, and this is Ribeiro and Brian Herta. Whoops, that could have been a lot worse for Andre Ribeiro. Luckily, though, he got away with it, but no chance of continuing. It then got very trafficky out there. Michael Andretti being extremely aggressive on Scott Pruitt, as we've come to expect from Mike Andretti. But here is the man of the day, Gilles de Ferran, in the Mercedes-powered Reynard, and the Jim Hall crew absolutely thrilled with that, and so they should be. Jim Hall's seen just about everything there is to see in motor racing. The man who invented wings, maybe we could call Jim Hall. Remember the Chaparral? Wow, that was an absolutely fascinating car. I'd love to see the Chaparral come over and do a few laps in England sometime. Maybe the Goodwood Festival Speed will succeed in getting the Chaparral at some point. That would be fantastic. So the end of another IndyCar season. Rob Widow's rounding up the series for you tonight. Hope to be with you next season. Contract time for commentators as well, of course, not just for racing drivers. But thanks to everybody here at Eurosport. I hope you've enjoyed this live coverage of every single race in the IndyCar series. And it'll be back live again on Eurosport, of course. The series a bit split next year with the new IRL, but whatever, there'll be plenty of terrific action to watch, as usual, in this American series. And we will definitely be most interested in Paul Tracy's return to Penske. That will certainly be something to watch. And he will be with Al Unser Jr., of course, and possibly with Emerson Fittipaldi, although Emerson Fittipaldi's had a very, very, very poor year by his standards this year. Penske have not really been on top of the program this year. They've made tremendous improvements over the last few races, but it was a very, very disappointing start to the year for Penske. And there, as we heard Paul Tracy saying earlier on, they're going to be starting a very intensive and very serious test program in just a week's time from now. The season, by the way, gets underway in Miami.